Our X-Files. Welcome to our X-Files Vault. Regular people talking about unexplained phenomena. UFOs. Ghosts. Cryptids. Hidden archaeology. Weird science. Our stories. Our takes. Our X-Files Vault.
Welcome to another episode of the Scary Creeptastic podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Scott, alongside a Cam. Cam, how you doing today?
Minus the Pats losing yesterday, I am feeling, pretty good. Weather's good. We got a little bit, not Indian summer going on in New England, but a few days left of pleasant weather for the most part. So things could always be worse, and I'm feeling good. How about yourself, Scott?
Good. We got quite the NFL rundown today. Some interesting teams lost that, I didn't think would be 1-2 after this week, but, we'll discuss that later. What do you got for us today?
Today I got another interesting regional spot. Well, this time going out to the West Coast, California. One of the most iconic premier haunted places, I don't want to say in the world, but Mount Shasta. It's one of those paranormal, spiritual, urban legend places, kind of like the Denver airport, where there's so much stuff to it, where some of it has to be insanely bogus, where some of it could be true, related to conspiracies, but here we are. I'm pretty much going at the Mount Shasta. It is about it's a mountain in the northern part of California, in the Cascade Mountain Range. Typically, there's snow on it year-round, making it a beautiful sight to look at. It's the fifth tallest mountain, as well as in California. And a lot of archaeologists will say that, based on the findings of things around the mountain, that there's been history of people probably living around that area for the last 9,000 years. In terms of native culture, the Native American tribes out there used to use the mountains as a boundary, as like a landmark to separate themselves from other tribes. And they also believed that it was the center of the universe, as well as the creation of all things spiritual. In terms of Mount Shasta, it is viewed as a positive spiritual overall area, as well as there's tons of myths and other legends that go along with it. And it's a sacred place. Given it's so sacred that even during the time of Native American tribes, back in those days, the only people that were allowed to hike the mountains were medicine men and women, so that way they could preserve the mountain's positive energy. They would use that energy to sort of help heal other people. And but the one thing I really do want to focus on, outside just the Native American tribe, a lot of the Native Americans believe that the god Skull, who was a god who inhabited the mountain at the time, was at war with the other gods in other mountains nearby, where there was legends of the rocks being thrown back and forth in lava. And that would sort of make sense because Mount Shasta is also an active volcano spot currently, even though it hasn't really erupted anytime soon. And there's been a lot of paranormal sightings, like anywhere else, and including the Benton Triangle. Tons of orb sightings around there all the time. A lot of apparition ghost sightings, especially Sasquatch sightings, because of course, you're in the middle of the woods. And we talked about Bigfoot last week. When you're getting there, you're kind of heading towards Pacific Northwest, which is sort of, I wouldn't consider this mountain necessarily there, but you're kind of heading towards that area. So it would be ideal for Sasquatch. There is also believed to be a portal to the fifth dimension through this mountain. And there's also believed to be two hidden cities inside the mountain as well. And I'll start off with the fact that the Lemurs they come from that. You ever hear that Saken continent, Lemura? It believed to be one of those Saken continents that, it's from a theory folklore base. The Lemurs are pretty much reptilian humanoid people, I would say, they were actually at war with the Atlanteans for years, and part of their story comes evolved with the Atlanteans and the Lemures fighting each other for thousands of years. It caused both of their city and continents to shrink, and then shrink into the ocean and sink. And then when it happened, the Lemures sort of head towards Mount Shasta, built a hidden city in there, Talos, which is the name, the pronunciation of the city, and been there since. And there's also been people, locals, every few years you hear a local saying, I saw a tall person, look kind of weird, paid with gold or whatever, which is part of the, which is also another thing I'm going to get to with that as well. But it is pretty fascinating because the Lemires, they're, like I said, they're humanoid lizard creatures. Every few years, like I said, there's a sighting of them. People claim they see them. They look big. And it gets pretty, it gets fascinating. There's been other spiritual things going on there too. A lot of people go there to do yoga, meditation retreats. But I don't know if you ever heard of Guy Ballard. He was an American businessman back in the 1930s. He was actually hiking along the mountain, and he ran to what he said was a man named Count Saint Germain, who he claimed to be, I don't want to say beyond human. He claimed to master the physical being realm of being a human, meaning like he neither needed to be born or dead, kind of like an immortal human that would live forever. And so Guy Ballard said that his meeting with this saint led him to start the religion. Let me see, I wrote in my notes, but I am Activate NPR, which is a religious movement that was started in the 1930s. They still actually have not a strong following today, but when they originally started in the 30s, they had about 1 million people worldwide. And 9 years after Guy Ballard's death, his wife and his son were charged with fraud, probably because they're doing a similar thing, almost like cult-like-ish type of things. However, they claim that religion is a mixture between Christianity, nationalism, for the most part. So that's an interesting story. But nonetheless, like I said, a lot of people go there for religious enlightenment. And there's also a Buddhist monastery built on the mountain back in 1971. Same year, as well as in the 1930s, there was a fire that happened in the forest out there in Northern California. And a lot of eyewitnesses say that when the fire was starting to approach the mountain, a visible mist out of nowhere came and dissipated, and the fire stopped. So, and that's as well as with the folklore that goes along with it. Overall, it's pretty fascinating stuff. And also going even further before that, in 1884, Frederick Oliver actually wrote a book entitled Dwellers of Two Planets, which sort of kind of references a lot of supposed Lumineers, some of the other ongoing activity and folklore and myths and people that we're talking about. And more recent time, in 2013, there was actually a 6-year-old boy that was playing in the woods at the bottom of the mountain, and eyewitnesses claim that he just disappeared and vanished. Search party happened. They went to look for him, and around the same spot, 2 people claim to say that they seen him just reappear like out of thin air as if nothing happened. That same year, a male hiker from Los Angeles, California, supposedly went up there in the mountain, and while he was in the woods, he claimed to hear a beautiful female voice, which sort of intrigued, overpowered him, took him. He claims that he followed the voice. Next thing you know, he's gone missing for weeks. He reemerged after weeks and claimed that he was actually abducted, kidnapped, beaten, and then he claimed to be saved by a very tall blonde woman with blue eyes and weird clothing. Being in California, that could probably be like half the whole state. But nonetheless, given the fact that there is other humanoid creatures being associated or affiliated with the mountains, as well as Sasquatch, Yetis, portals of fifth dimensions, it's all pretty crazy stuff. And actually, there's another individual too, J.C. Brown. He claimed that he found another city outside the Lumire's hidden city. He claimed that he found another city inside the mountain that was roughly 11 miles down, where advanced technology, gold plates everywhere, humanoid beings, but not quite humans, but nonetheless, he wound up telling other people about it, and then he was actually originally sent there sort of pan for gold from England. But when he told other people about what he found in Thursday Heading City, they actually got a crew of 80 guys together to start an expedition to search and find a place. But J.C. Brown was never heard of again after that. Guy pretty much went completely missing, which, if a lot of that stuff is true, as well as his own experience, then, that would probably make sense, because this isn't the first time I heard that Mount Shasta might be the entrance to the hollow earth theory. But, this thing, it's similar to the Bridgewater Triangle, where it's everything, ghosts, orbs, UFOs, humanoid creatures, cryptozoids. And the other thing with the Lumineers too, they're believed that a lot of people believe that they're actually able to travel through time as well. So, and there's plenty of other stuff and other rabbit holes and things affiliate with Mount Shasta. But in modern day time too, a lot of Native American tribes out there do rituals to try to emanate the energy from the mountain, or kind of give thanks. Because even though with all the paranormal stuff going on there, a lot of people view it as a positive place for energy or energy development, spiritually, and harmony type of thing, especially given the fact that there's a Buddhist monastery built in the night before you and I were born there, actually, because about 1971. So yeah, I could honestly just keep going. Like, I have a ton more notes on this. Like, this is probably something I can do in we could do like in a 5-part episode or something. There's just a ton of vast information, ton of stories, people claiming to see stuff, surrounding businesses. Every year, like I said, every year there's always a new person that claims that they seen some lizardoid human person dressed in weird clothing paying for something in gold. So yeah, I'm probably gonna stop going down that rabbit hole, but nonetheless, it seems like a pretty interesting place. And following up from last week's episode, if we decide we want to find Bigfoot, this would be a great place to start as well. So
yeah, it reminds me of that place have you ever heard of that place in Japan? It's supposed to be like not a haunted forest, but it's supposed to be called like the death forest or the suicide forest.
Yeah, every time people go in there, they always either hang themselves. Yeah, that's probably like one of the top 5 creepy forests in the world. So yeah. Definitely heard of that place. It's pretty interesting.
I'm gonna end up doing that as a subject down the line, but yeah, that's quite the subject. It reminds me a lot of that, but I guess Mount Shasta, I don't know if anybody's perished or passed away. I don't know if that's the case, but you would know because you did the research. But
yeah, and then there's just other reports of, I found other reports of this one mom claims that she was with her 4-year-old just in the base of the mountain at the bottom. Kid went missing, search party. They find the kid on the top of the mountain by himself.
Oh, wow.
That's I probably should have mentioned that story too, but that one is pretty weird because, you're talking about 14,000 feet up. I mean, it'd probably take me, I did Mount Washington. Mount Washington took me forever to get up there. And Mount Washington is about 6,000 feet up. So, 14, like for a 4-year-old kid, no less, like, that's definitely something that I found pretty remarkable or intriguing and very interesting. But yeah, it's like I said, I could probably do another episode on this with other information, because there's definitely a lot of rabbit holes with all the stuff that I read and everything else. But the Lumineers seem to be the main focus, though, in terms of the legends and everything going on there. But even before they're ever referenced, it was still believed to be a harmony place, spiritual place, paranormal place, and because of from the god Skull, who used to inhabit the mountain as well. And like I said too, still considered an active volcano. So you have that going.
Yeah, that could be some sort of like paranormal draw, the volcano.
It makes you wonder though if it still is active with the Lumineers inside, that's the thing, but hey, who knows? They're supposedly advanced people, so but yeah. So how about yourself? What do you got for us today?
Well, you talked about last week haunted road, so this is kind of on the similar subject, if you will. It's called the Resurrection Mary topic out of Chicago.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, supposedly, let me get into the story here. It's kind of weird because when I first saw this story back on Unsolved Mysteries in probably the 80s, that's how old I am. I never wanted to drive by a cemetery at night because of this, and I still don't to this day. I try to avoid cemeteries at night. But anyways, Resurrection Mary. The story goes that it's out of Justice, Illinois. There's a cemetery called Resurrection Cemetery, and people have been driving by, and there's been several sightings of a woman glowing, and she's been in a white dress, and so sightings that go back to about the 30s, and they're trying to figure out who it is in the cemetery that they can think of that it might be, but they see an apparition walking down in front of the cemetery gates, in front of the cemetery wall, and they just so happen to name her Mary. They're not sure exactly who it is, but they think it looks like one of the, I don't know, they're trying to pinpoint who exactly it could be, but there's been a lot of sightings and a lot of stories of Resurrection Mary. Some that are actually pretty creepy. In the 1930s, there was a taxi driver, Jerry Palace, and he was driving down Archer Avenue, and Resurrection Mary just walked right out in front of him in his car, and he tried to jam on the brakes, and he thought he hit her, but then when he skidded forward a little bit, nothing. There was nobody there.
I heard that one. Yes.
Yeah, there was even another one where another guy, I'm not really getting his name here, but 1973, where Mary was said to have shown up at a nightclub on Cicero Ave in Chicago's southwest side. She came into the Melody Lounge across the street from the Resurrection Cemetery to inquire. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on 1 second. Let me go back.
Hey, you're all good, man. Take your time, bro.
She's been known to go into. People have been known to pull over on the side of the road and ask her if she wants a ride. She has been known to get into cabs and not pay the fare. And then when they go to confront her, or they let her out, and then she walks into the cemetery, and then when they go in to find out where she is, there's no one around. So it goes back decades. There hasn't been any recent sightings, at least not as far as I've been researching. The latest one was 1989, as far as the research that I've done. But it seems like she causes all sorts of mischief. And she's very beautiful. She's blonde hair, and it looks like she attracts all men.
Always the hot one.
No, always, yeah. I don't know. It's never a dude, or it's never a like like an old lady or something. It's always a young babe. So.
Yeah.
Well, that's why she attracts the men, and the men go to get involved in her, and then, and then they end up figuring out that.
To a degree, that would make sense, because I think if it's a hot apparition spirit, random guys would be like, "Oh yeah, I'll do whatever you tell me." Where I think women are more intuitive when it comes to being confronted with paranormal being or something, to pick up on something being off first than most men. I'm not saying it's always true like that in every scenario, but it's just most of my ghost hunts or things that I do and host with people, it's probably like for every one guy that shows up, I normally get like 7 girls. So, and that number's a little high or strewed, but nonetheless, no, I don't want to distract you from that, but it's all good.
And there's been a lot of other things happening too. Like, for instance, she also reportedly burned her handprints into the wrought iron fence around the cemetery.
That's badass. But
yeah,
I wouldn't do it, but that's
and there's just been sightings of just people driving down and just seeing her walking around the outside gates of the cemetery. I mean, that's basically it. I mean, I didn't get like a ton of research on her, but like, researchers have attempted to try to find out who she was, and the focus on their efforts have been some think it's Mary Bregovi, who died in 1934, although her death was an automobile accident in downtown Chicago. But also, some of them think it was a lady named Anna Norkus, who died in 1927, who also died in a car accident. So it's just, they're not sure. They think it's one of them two. It's her spirit that's out being restless, and but really, that's all I got. I mean, it's just kind of creepy and terrifying. There hasn't been any recent sightings, not any that I found, anyways. You would think there still would be, considering.
What?
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just agreeing with you.
Yeah, considering it's Chicago's most famous ghost, and that I don't know why it would just stop all of a sudden, but that's all I've gotten for research on Resurrection Mary, and I think if I'm ever in Chicago, I'm going to take a drive by at night and see if I can see her.
I'll take a look too. Maybe she's finally at peace now, I guess, with, if there's been no signs recently, given the fact of the status of how famous she is throughout, even not even just out throughout Chicago. I mean, Chicago's most famous ghost, yes, but in terms of stature in general and famous. So, yeah. But, that's definitely a interesting tale nonetheless. Kind of similar to one of the ones in the Bridgewater Triangle where this old hitchhiker where he's always on the road and people ask if he needs a ride, he gets in the car and then he kind of yells and screams and then they don't see him again. I'd probably rather deal with him than the resurrection of Mary for sure, but
imagine driving down past the cemetery at night and seeing that. Like, to me, I would just be petrified. Like, these guys are brave, but I would get the hell out of there. I wouldn't even. Because I've seen the pictures from Unsolved Mysteries, and I know TV really doesn't always do justice, but that don't look like a woman. That looks just like a clear, see-through apparition. And to me, that would, I'd be out of there in 2 seconds. I wouldn't even,
No, I do. Yeah, because I don't. Well, no, I don't think I'd go to a funeral at night unless I have, but that was me doing a case. But yeah. So, it's honestly at night is when you're most likely probably to see something likely happen. So that's, yeah.
I mean, I got one picture that I'm looking at right now, and the picture that I'm looking at is, like I said, is creepy. And if I saw that and I'm driving on the road, I'd probably freak out.
Or what's it on? Are you
Yeah.
Share it?
Well, I'm going to see if you can see it. I'm not sure if you can really see it that well, but.
Yeah, I see. I see the apparate. Like, I wouldn't think that's a woman, but I can understand wearing a robe, maybe like in terms of like the volume of the stelius of the apparition. But
she's glowing, and like you can definitely tell, like when you're driving by, that's an apparition. I mean,
yeah,
like
definitely like it looks like she's wearing a robe too, or in terms of yeah.
Yeah, that's all I got, unfortunately, and I guess we'll never know, and maybe hopefully the new Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix hopefully will do that story and give us updates because I'm interested to see if that one still exists or not.
Yeah, probably a little bit because it's a new reboot, but I'm sure they'll eventually get to it. I mean,
Yeah.
after all, I have a bunch of new crap they want to do first in terms of between now and the time they were off the air. So I'm sure there's some pretty cool, creepy stuff they want to do along with that.
Have you seen the new Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix?
Only one so far.
Oh my God, it is phenomenal, especially the one in Massachusetts about the UFOs. Have you seen that one?
I've not seen that one.
Oh,
No.
that's phenomenal. Oh my God, it takes place out in Adams, out in like the Pittsfield area.
Okay, the Berkshires. Yep.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. If you get a chance to watch it, watch it. It's phenomenal.
All right, I'll put that on my bucket list.
Yeah.
Ironically, the first UFO sighting in the United States was in Massachusetts, so that was.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was like 16 something, but
All right. Well, now is the time we've been waiting for. Let's get some NFL rundown going. Cam, what do you think? Let's get some NFL going here.
Well, I want to probably start a little bit with I mean, I spent the whole weekend tailgating back-to-back days between, like I said, I went to well, like I told you off camera before, I went to the BC game, met New England sports legend Doug Flutie. I don't know if you you able to see him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I asked
that's
if I could be
cool.
asked if I could be in the eugenics commercial. Him and Frank Thomas. I asked him if I was bigger. He didn't really give me a comment back. So I don't know. Maybe he's thinking about it. It was a pretty good game. It was winning the overtime. BC won. They don't normally beat Southern teams like that. Now to get some NFL action, yeah, I was all over the place with all the games. I mean, a little disappointing. Our hometown team lost. I'm not gonna say didn't see it coming, but I expected a better performance given the fact that New England has a rookie QB. The kid was under duress like all day, and it's weird because going into the season, the strong part of New England's team was offensive line, and they're going to have a great defense because of all the money they spent on defense. They spent some money on offense too, but we knew the receivers of Aguilar and Bourne weren't going to be Moss and Walker 2.0, but they're better than what we had the previous year. Now the tight ends, they're also an upgrade of what we had from a year ago.
Yeah, John Smith, I know.
Yeah, he didn't have a good game though, and that one of those pick sixes, that pick six in the second quarter, that was kind of on him. You know, so we'll see if they can correct that a little bit. I don't think it looks good because Tampa Bay, who's going to be New England's opponent next week, big game going to be intrigued because Tom Brady's coming back to Foxborough, greatest quarterback of all time. Not me saying as a Pats fan, just me saying as somebody who watches football. I'm not putting Aaron Rodgers up there or Brett Favre. If you're going to tell me Tom Brady, then maybe I'll go with Joe Montana if you're not going to agree with me on that. But however, Tampa Bay lost too, and looks like the LA Rams are. First of all, it looks like Tampa Bay's not going undefeated. That was kind of the talk.
Yeah, the Rams look phenomenal. Oh my God.
Well, they have a court, and I never thought Jared Goff was an awful quarterback. He was probably a little overrated, but Matthew Stafford always was a bit of a gunslinger, kind of like the talent was always there. He just never had the success, But then again, he played for the Lonely Lions. That franchise is so bad that it caused Barry Sanders to retire in his prime because he didn't want to be part of a losing franchise. But I thought if Tampa Bay won, that'd be New England's best chance to win next week because a team like Tampa Bay, I don't see them losing 2 games in a row. These guys are the Super Bowl favorites. They brought everybody back. And also New England can't stop the run, for the life of me. And then, but yeah, it was a pretty good game. Tonight's game right now is a little bit tied up no, we don't need to talk about the Monday night matchup at the moment. But did you see any other games that kind of stood out to you? Because there was a few other ones like Detroit should have won, but it was a weird rule. But the last second field goal kick. I was a little surprised by Minnesota just blowing out the Seahawks because the Seahawks start the year off good. Wasn't really too high on Minnesota because I think Kirk Cousins is slightly better than the quarterback we have now, which I think our quarterback Jones is going to be good, but Kirk Cousins is a 9-year vet who plays a little.
I think like I said at the beginning, one of the biggest surprises is, and I know the guys on Fox, the NFL Fox, mentioned the same thing too, was the 1-2 Chiefs and the 1-2 Steelers. Those are two teams who I would never have guessed ever would be 1-2 at this point in the season.
Yeah, I can kind of. I agree with you. Well, I see it from both sides. One hand, I kind of agree with you. I'll go with the Steelers at first. I kind of agree with you on one hand, yes and no. Because at the same time, the Steelers started last year off 11-0, and they were just cruising. And then they lost 4 straight, and then won their last game, and then they kind of back to the playoffs. Big Ben couldn't really throw the ball. It was looking like Cam Newton towards the end of last year. I kind of thought coming in this year is going to be revigorated a little bit. And I think that first game, they were down by the Bills, and then they wound up beating the Bills, which, you thought they were kind of coming back. The switch over to the Chiefs, it's a little bizarre because, one, the Chiefs almost lost to the Chiefs lost the Chargers this past weekend. They almost lost the Chargers last year during Justin Herbert's first start as, a rookie just being thrown into the fire, let alone now Justin Herbert's a little bit more seasoned, bigger guy. Patrick Mahomes is getting a little chummy and cocky himself, which rightfully so. The guy's almost a unicorn, but I think he's kind of asked for it because I remember when he got caught on a hot mic saying, when people were talking about how good Justin Herbert is, he got caught on a hot mic saying, "I'll believe it when I see it." Well, I guess he saw it yesterday because he lost. In terms of the game last week, though, the Chiefs could have easily been 2-1 though if it wasn't for 2 weeks ago when John Harbaugh decided to go for it on 4th and 1 on his own 40-yard line with, I want to say, a minute and 30 to go in the game. And it was a gutsy play, but that's also a play you sort of have to do when you're the opposing team against a player like Patrick Mahomes. I think Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback. I think he's, between now and our lifetime, it's probably going to stand that way. Physically right now, though, I do think Mahomes, I don't want to say he's the best player, but probably is the best player in terms of prototypical arm, speed, strength, accuracy, as well as him. He's not a running quarterback, but in terms of mobility issues, he's normally good at that. But same thing, they could have easily been 2-1 as opposed to 1-2. I got to say, though, I do like seeing them as 1-2 because, took us, you and I have been watching Tom Brady for the last 20 years. And even after you hear a lot of people saying not consider him the greatest quarterback of all times, but then going to the Super Bowl last year, Mahomes has only been in the league for 3 years, and then they're already comparing him to Brady, the two goats going at it, or the goat and the baby goat. I think it's a little soon on. I think Mahomes is going to be a great player. His trajectory's up, but I don't think he's going to be I don't think he's going to be like Tom Brady, where he's going to be getting, Tom Brady's never had a losing season in his NFL career in 20 years or 21 years, about to go on 22. So, it's good to see that Chiefs look a little mortal. I like that as a Patriots fan. And another good thing about all these other teams being 1-2, hey, it's better for us because if we have a chance of making the playoffs, we're going to need some help because
that's true.
And we got a rookie quarterback. Granted, he looks better than most rookies do, but this offensive line is probably going to get him killed, quite honestly. And
yeah,
I never go anywhere with Brian Hoyer.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't bring in another veteran per se. If I were the Pats, and I'm not knocking Mac Jones at all, I would have brought in, considering the players that they picked up offensively, I would have brought in a more seasoned quarterback. Someone like even Sam Darnold, knowing how good he's doing down in.
Well, he was a trade though.
No, I know, but they could have traded, or they could have done something.
That's not with the Patriots. They're still mad about us getting Bill Belichick because Belichick. No, I'm sorry.
No, that's just an idea. Even Jared Goff or somebody we could have possibly traded for, or free agent signing, or just to let Mac Jones sit, but then switch him off and let Jones get more familiar with things. And because he's getting clobbered out there, and it's gonna. I have a feeling he's gonna get injured, and it's gonna end up bringing Brian Hoyer season.
Yeah, and hopefully, if that happens, I don't want to say we're screwed or porked, but yeah, I think it's a little unusual. I kind of agree with your point because when Cam Newton, I remember seeing Cam Newton play live in college. He was a nasty player at that year at Auburn. He probably had one of the top 5 best college football seasons of all time for Heisman winner, national champion, and just quarterbacking alone. Now, that being said, he was also good for his first, few years in the league, but the guy was washed, the guy's cooked. And you saw we went through him last year. Bill Belichick brought him back this year. I was a little surprised that he brought him back because I thought it was a waste of time. He knew what he looked like. Cam Newton looked worse as the year went on, which was an awful sign. Now, I wasn't a big Mitch Trubisky fan, but I would have took him over Cam Newton. Heck, I would have even taken Andy Dalton, Ryan Fitzpatrick. There's a few other quarterbacks.
Joe Flacco. Over Cam Newton, though.
I'd probably take Joe Flacco over Cam Newton a little bit, but because Joe Flacco can always throw the ball forward. Cam Newton can't. Yeah, but
and then at least if he got hurt, you would have had Mac Jones, as a backup. Now look who your backup is, and
and not to make this political, but to be quite honest, if Cam Newton got the vaccine, he'd probably still be on the team. But it's just and that's the thing we're seeing now with the NFL. Lamar Jackson, starting quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens, he's refusing to get the vaccine, but the guy behind him is not as good as him. Where Cam Newton is on his downward of his career, refuses to get the vaccine, tested positive last year, broke COVID protocol again this year. One, it's a bad look because you can't be a 10-year. I'm not going to force you to get the vaccine, but you're a 10-year vet in the NFL. You can't be botching protocols like you're some 19-year-old kid. Even so, I still don't know if I'd want to Cam Newton if he did get the vaccine, but like I said, it does surprise me that he didn't get it because if he did have it, he'd still be here. But when you're in your prime like Lamar Jackson, you can take that risk and say, hey, I don't want it because, no one on the team's behind you is better than you. In New England, Cam Newton and Mac Jones are 2 different types of quarterbacks, but Mac Jones is probably more effective in an NFL offense right now than Cam Newton is. The only thing Cam Newton can really do over Mac Jones is probably run. And even that is I don't want to say overrated, but yesterday's game, Mac Jones was the leading rusher on the Patriots, even though, so.
Yeah, now James White is hurt. Who knows if he'll be back?
Yeah, I know, a hip injury. So I guess I'm just going to have to, keep my fingers crossed, watch the next couple games like this and hope,
There's a chance against Tampa Bay because I was doing some watching yesterday, the Tampa Bay game, and they were saying that Tampa Bay has a lot of hurt people, and Antonio Brown is out with COVID. So there's a possibility. I mean, Gronkowski got hurt yesterday. I don't know if he's going to be okay for next week.
He's going to try. He's going to shoot him because he wants to rub it in Bill's face. But you're right. There's a chance that he might not. Antonio Brown, you're right. He was hurt too. And the running back, or I think it was their second or third string guy, he scored a touchdown, was grimacing flight in mid-flight.
Bernard or something.
Bernard. And he was pretty solid, but they still have Fournette. They still have Ronald Jones, good 1-2 bunch. And it makes you wonder, too, that goes back to the Patriots even more, is why we trade Sony Michel, because our running back room is starting to look thin right now.
Yeah, I know. You would think that they would have kept
Michel.
Yeah, well, not just Sony Michel, but who's that other guy that they had last year?
Damon Harris we had Damon Harris and Sony Michel mostly. Oh, Rex Burkhead.
Yeah, Burkhead.
Yeah, I think he's playing for the Saints right now.
I like Burkhead.
I did too. The only problem with Burkhead is he was never really healthy with us. He was a really good running, pass catching and blocking. But yeah, I think Belichick just didn't like his durability because Belichick is the best availability is the best ability is availability, which but
Yeah, they're not. Their schedule is not going to get any better either because they got the Cowboys coming up. They got so they got some tough teams coming up. I think they have the Chargers coming up. I didn't really check their schedule, but it's going to be a tough go at it this year. That's for sure.
hey, no, it's definitely a little bit getting used to because we spent 20 years winning an average of 12 games a year.
Yeah.
Like winning the AFC East. Heck, I don't know. We went to 9 straight AFC championship games. We're not used to this. You can sell me on a rookie quarterback, especially the fact that, I'd rather have a rookie quarterback than freaking Cam Newton.
Oh,
but
yeah.
It's a rookie quarterback with high price vets in their prime, and they're not producing. It's like, oh, if anything, the rookie is the only one doing his job, actually, that looks competent. And it's kind of hard to tell because this old line is just getting killed, which that's another weird issue because for the longest time, New England's always had a great offensive line, man.
Yeah, I want to talk a minute about the Cardinals. They're not known much around here, but boy, I think they have AJ Green, don't they?
Yeah, they got him in a trade. Obviously, they have Fitzgerald. They have DeAndre Hopkins.
Wow.
Very probably going to be the first, I think, starting Asian American NFL quarterback. He's looking pretty good.
They're going to be a killer team this year.
I think so too. Granted, it is a little weird because they did get I don't know, they had a close game with Minnesota. That was some weird calls going in, or a miss kick. But yeah, they played Jacksonville yesterday against Trevor Lawrence. He's the next hyped up rookie. He'll definitely be good eventually, but he has nothing around in Jacksonville. But I do think the Cardinals are going to be a sneaky good team. A lot of people don't like the coach Cliff Kingsbury because he used to be a backup quarterback to Tom Brady for a couple years, and he was like a nasty college quarterback that put up video game numbers. So because he was all in the spread shoot offense. But yeah, no, the defense too that the Cardinals have because Watt's on one side, and I'm sure you remember our boy Chandler Jones from New England on the other side. Those are good two DNs to the pinch of defense, and not to mention. Chandler Jones, he had that historic game. He had 5 sacks in the first game of the season, in the first quarter. That's yeah. And Belichick didn't want to pay that guy. Just
damn. And yeah, I just want to say one quick thing, but then you can have whatever you want. But imagine being a New York football fan. Oh, God, both teams are horrible.
You're kind of right about that, and I think this is almost like a generational thing because look at the last 20 years when the Giants and Jets just put whatever the last 20 years. Obviously, the Giants got lucky. I don't want to say lightning twice in the ball and beat New England, but that whole period when Eli made to the playoffs, the only time he made to the playoffs was 2 times plus one other time the year after. Joe Judge seems like an absolute clown with the Giants. And not to mention they lost the game on Thursday Night Football a couple weeks ago with the lineman off sides on a field goal kick attempt.
I saw that. Oh,
yeah.
my God.
That guy is a special teams coach. So in terms of the Jets, I thought I kind of had a lot of hope for Zach Wilson. I thought he was going to be kind of good. People build him as the next Mahomes, Roger. I think with the Jets, it really is. It's an absolute mess because you never see it. Robert Saleh is supposed to become the next good up and coming coach. He was a defensive coordinator out of San Francisco. He's a rookie head coach though, and he's a rookie head coach that hired a rookie offensive coordinator and rookie defensive coordinator. Normally, when young coaches, first year coaches, they hire a former head coach to be a coordinator, sort of help them learn ins and outs of the NFL because when you saw the Jets play New England, when every time Mac Jones comes off the bench, you see him talking to Josh McDaniels or Brian Hoyer immediately. When Zach Wilson, the Jets quarterback, when he was throwing those interceptions, he wasn't talking to any coaches on the sidelines or anything. He would go to the sideline, he's just sitting by himself watching the game, almost like there's no accountability or talking over own adjustments or anything. And that's also the other difference, too, between those two rookie quarterbacks. You know, during the draft process, it's Zach Wilson has the arm strength, the wow factor, the pop, the it, the that. Mac Jones is the old school drop back, boring, dull quarterback. And then when you saw them play head to head, one guy is doing too much, and the other guy's just doing what's in the playbook.
Yeah, it's funny because I look at the Jets and I'm like, boy, are they pathetic. Like, they lost to Denver. Who's the quarterback of the Broncos?
Oh, Teddy Bridgewater.
Oh, yeah. And what are they, 2-1 or 3-0 or something? 3-0, really?
Yeah, well, they have talent on that team. Like, defense is pretty good. And last year too, one thing Von Miller, he's like underrated guy because he was injured last year, and he's almost he almost counts as two players because of how good of a player he is in terms of productivity. But then their offense was good too. It's just last year they had no I don't want to say a quarterback, but I think not Brandon Weeden, but they had some stiff there that's kind of a clown. But they even said that if Aaron Rodgers went there, that they'd probably be a playoff team because that was one of the rumored places that Aaron Rodgers wanted to go when he wanted out of Green Bay this past year. And it looks like Green Bay has no idea what they're doing either. So,
yeah. Oh, God, I know. I'm telling you, it's funny because Brady's only going to be around for another. I don't expect him to play till 50. I don't. Eventually, his body's going to, especially with and I was telling a guy this the other day, especially with 17 games or 18 games this year?
Yeah.
Especially with one extra game added on. His body can only take so much. And then I found out yesterday during the game that he was hurt all last year. He had a really bad, I don't know, leg injury or something or whatever.
He had a torn MCL supposedly, which, yeah, he's not a mobile quarterback, so it won't affect him too much, but he is a 43-year-old guy, being on a torn.
Eventually it's going to start affecting his performance. Eventually, maybe next year, who knows? He may decide, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. And or Tampa Bay might just say, he is getting kind of up there in age. We don't want to take a chance.
Oh, no, I think Tampa Bay is all in on Brady because their franchise has gone up by 29% in terms of value, mainly from the Super Bowl win, his star stratus, probably bringing Gronk with them. Because you got to remember, too, Tampa Bay was like, when you watch a Red Sox game and they're in Tampa, there's no one in the stands down in Tampa.
Oh, yeah, that's true, yeah.
And it was kind of like that with their football team for a while, too. Now you are seeing everybody likes a winner, so he is bringing a Brady crew that way. But yeah, supposedly that torn MCL actually happened in New England a lot. They reference when we played a game against Tennessee. Supposedly he played supposedly it was Brady's last year here, or the year that we won the Super Bowl against the Rams is the year when he supposedly tore that MCL. But I don't know. It's pretty bizarre. I thought the TB12 method would cure everything.
Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens against Tampa. It's a 8:20 game on Sunday, and it's going to be quite interesting. You have any last minute thoughts about this upcoming NFL week?
Other than honestly, like I haven't really looked at the other slates of games. I know I'm getting ready to watch the Eagles and Cowboys go at it in a minute. But in terms of the slate, I'm still debating about going to the Tampa New England game.
Oh, no.
I'm kind of on edge because I think Tampa's going to win. I am a Tom Brady fan, of course, a Patriots fan. I'm not doing I'm either a Patriot or Brady fan. I mean, the guy brought us like 6 championships over 20 years. So, the Bill Russell of our era, the Michael Jordan of our era, if I was a Bulls fan, I wouldn't stop liking the Bulls just because Michael Jordan went to the Wizards. But in terms of, I do think Tampa's going to win. I'm feeling less positive about it. Not less positive, but I'm just less willing to accept that just because I think they were going to be 1-2. That Dolphins loss is coming back to sort of on us. But how about yourself? Do you have any upcoming thoughts or?
Well, I'm looking forward to it, but I usually watch a lot of the games, the 1:00 games and the 4:00 games, and it looks like, from what I'm looking at, that two games that catch my eye are it looks like the Cardinals and Rams is going to be a hell of a game at 4:00 on
Probably
Sunday.
high scoring.
Yeah, that's going to be, and the Steelers and Packers next Sunday at 4:25. So,
what's this Thursday night's game? Are you able to see it?
Thursday night is Jaguars and Bengals.
I'll probably watch two young quarterbacks. That's the only intrigue. The Bengals are actually 2-1 this year and pretty good. They beat the Steelers. They've been
I know that was.
It's not your dad's Bengals, I guess, right?
Yeah. Well, how about the Titans and Jets? Boy, that's going to be a barn drama.
That game will be over by halftime. It's so far this season, rookie quarterbacks are 1-10. So we'll see if that trend gets better. The Monday night game should be pretty good. Las Vegas against LA Chargers. So
did Vegas lose this week? Who they played the Bills, right? No, they beat the Dolphins. They beat the Dolphins.
Oh yeah. Well, everybody should have beaten the Dolphins, but apparently we weren't able to.
Yeah, I know. Jeez.
Denver and Baltimore looks like it's gonna be a good matchup too.
I'm excited.
A lot of good games upcoming week. Seattle, San Fran. Seattle's 1-2. That's a team you want to expect to be 1-2, but
yeah, I'm surprised San Fran's not doing better because they got Garoppolo and
they're 2-1 though.
Yeah.
The first loss. Yeah, I remember they're playing Green Bay, I think San Fran's gonna be a little bit better though as the year goes on.
I predicted them to win, to go all the way, so we'll see. It's an early season.
Oh yeah, it's still we're only at the quarter way. We're only at this upcoming week will be the quarter point of the season, I guess, and then. So yeah, we'll see where it goes.
I'm gonna change my one last thing before we go. I'm gonna change my Super Bowl prediction, and I'm gonna say, according to what I saw this week, the Rams, because I've never seen such a fast defense and a young defense as I saw the Rams. They took Tampa Bay to school. I
remember the Rams defense is really good. But Aaron Donald, he's like, I don't know, he's a unicorn for D tackles. That's why I think the Arizona game against the Rams is going to be huge because both Kyler Murray and Matthew Stafford can sling the ball like it's nothing. And then both defenses have a stud on the line. Chandler Jones is playing out of his mind. And Sam Darnold, Sam Darnold was a quarterback of Carolina, but Sam Darnold, or the D tackle for the Rams.
No, I know who you're talking about.
But yeah, no, kid's not even 26, 27. He's already won 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards. He's already a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he has probably another 5-6 years left in his prime of high level getting after the quarterback football. Yeah. So that should be probably should have been one of the night games. Obviously, Tampa and New England was going to draw a lot of eyeballs for Brady's return, so that's what the league was looking at. Belichick versus Brady versus Belichick, whose side you're on, type of thing. But it should be an exciting week, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yep. Well, yeah, man. That's we'll have to meet back here again next week sometime.
Oh, real quick, I didn't show you one of the BC towels that Doug Foodie signed for me. Actually,
oh, nice.
They had the Heisman watch there, so yeah. And I also got to meet Clinton Yates from ESPN. I was going to ask him to come on the podcast with us, but I didn't want to. fanboy him that much.
Remember the drop kick that Doug Flutie did?
Yes, that was awesome.
That was awesome.
Oh, man, actually, one of my karate instructors has a photo of that. Like, bought it like autographed by him.
Wow. All right, Cam. Well, that's it. That's all we have for today for the Scary Creeptastic podcast. See you next week.
Hey, sounds good, Scott. Have a good talk to you later.
You too. Go Peds.
Oh, yeah. We need a win.
Yep.